Welcome to Look Around Florida.
Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Sean McFaul, aka the Florida Man. I'm glad you could join us tonight. I have Jerry Peacock behind the scenes right now. I'll be bringing him up here next minute. I do want to get some stuff out of the way. That way me or Jerry don't get phone calls. Yes, a disclaimer. Uh, Pretty much tonight's show is going to be based on all the events that are coming up in March and in April. We do have some news that happened, so Jerry's going to be talking about that those news and the events coming up in his area. So I'm glad y'all could join me tonight. Thank you for joining us, Linda Hudson and Jeff O'Kyan. Uh, so, uh, where is it? Where is it? There we go. Hey, Jerry, how you doing tonight, sir?
Very well, very good, and it's a great night for the South. Amen.
Yep. So you were saying earlier you have some events coming up in your area. Hey, Roy, good to see you, sir.
Yes, Sean. I don't think I have a visual on you. Is it best to mention the events, or should I go into the reburial process?
I would go ahead and go with the reburial.
Okay.
Because I know you were talking about having an event for that eventually.
Yes. I want everybody to know that what transpired, it was just like our General Nathan Bedford Forrest reinterment at Tennessee in 21. I had a real second life, once in a lifetime experience with this next story real quick. And it involved a local Confederate soldier. He was a private. He joined the Confederate Army May or so, 1863. He finished out the war. His name was John Fraser Shecut. It's spelled Shecut, but it's more of a French semi-Creole name. And that's the reason you pronounce his last name like Shecut. You accent that first. John Fraser Shecut and his wife, Tommy Eugenia. What happened was in June and July of 24, I was at home one day and a lady came to the front door, knocked on the front door, introduced herself as a part of the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution. And she said she had driven by she goes in and out the main gate here for part of our village where we live in. And she said she looked over and saw a Confederate flag on the patio flying. So she knew this might be more up my alley than what she was. And it turns out this lady with the DAR was contacted by the funeral home in Bushnell. And through the funeral home, they wanted her to see about having people or a group together for this process of removing John Fraser Shecut and his wife, Tommy Eugenia. And it was due to the county road widening and expanding the highway. And all of this takes place at Highway 470 and Highway 301. I mean, within just 100 yards or so. So when she saw the flag, she came immediately to me, knowing it was something about a Southern soldier and not her group, you might say, DAR with the American Revolution. And she sort of handed over to me the reins on this thing, which I was kind of shocked, and I didn't know what it was to begin with. But the more I got into it, I couldn't believe it. This Confederate soldier, John Fraser Shecut, moved from Georgia after the war down to Sumterville. He and his wife settled, And he was born in 1838 in South Carolina, married this lady around 1870 in Richmond, Virginia, and then wound up in right outside of Augusta, between that and Atlanta, Georgia, in his work career. He was a much of an entrepreneur. He was a get up and go fella, not one to just take life easy or get by. And from that, he became quite successful. So we've got him from 1838 to 1893. And with the new construction going on in all of 2024 up until now, February of 2025, we find out that he is a bona fide Confederate soldier. We were invited really on a late notice. This was not anything pre-scheduled or set up like weeks and months in advance. And the reason is the contractor and the workload of the road widening and the road construction, they fought tooth and nail on the schedule. They didn't want to be pinned down, so it left us out sort of hanging wide and dry with this thing. And anyway, we finally got notice just a few days ahead of time that on February the 13th, they were going to exhume the bodies along the highway of 470. So we were invited. We got out there at 8 o'clock that morning. It was myself and Tom Heaton, and both of us, of course, are from Camp 1786. I would have been glad to have done a call around or sent out something in case somebody, else had an interest. All of our compatriots or whatever, other camps, but there was just no notice given. And when it was sent to us, it was like, just do it and that's it. Do it or miss it. So we started there February the 18th and the 13th, and got the exhuming underway along the highway. We had to go a full 6 feet down. There was no wooden casket remains. There were handles that were found where they would hook to the casket, and of carriers that could carry the casket transported. We found that. We found a few other things. I think they discovered that he was wearing some kind of leather shoes, because they found leather, wooden metal tacks that went in the bottom of the heels. But this gentleman was all in place, laying just regularly inclined flat. Instead of standing straight up and looking straight ahead, he just pictured him lying down. And he was straight in that caliber, just immaculate, if that's the way you want to put it. Everything was intact. This went on from 8 a.m. The 13th of February, and we didn't reach him till sometime after the lunch. I'm not sure. I forget, 1 or 2 or something like that. And by the time we got through with exhuming him, they put a slid, they of course dug around the shape of the body, the skull, and all around it, and could slide under or get under the bones with a type of a body bag, and put everything in the body bag, placed it just as it would be on your body. And of course, a lot of it did come apart, but you could imagine. But when they folded the body bag up and tightened it up, they put bands around it. So the bands would go around, the upper torso and keep that in place, then around the chest, around the hips, around the knees, and then around the ankles. And by doing that, he just became a banded roll, you might say. And from that, you could actually lift him out of the deep hole, put him on what they call a tray. And Tom Heaton and a couple of other gentlemen, we grabbed the handles of that after we got to get him out of the grave, the bones and everything. And it was the first time in my life I've ever gotten to really and truly touch a real Confederate soldier. and it really sent chills all up and down me. Tom and I got to help carry transport from the grave out to the highway, and then several vehicle links down the highway to the funeral home van, slide him in. And the experience I had with General Nathan Bedford Forrest in 21 was unbelievable. The only thing is we got to handle the casket and the casket he was buried in. But of course, we couldn't handle any of the remains. But we still were honored to be able to touch and be that close to General Nathan Bedford Forrest, where he would have been in his metal casket, and even when they transed him over to the modern day metal casket. But the 13th, Tom and I got to actually touch the bones and handle a Confederate soldier. A real first time in my life, and probably the last and only chance I'll ever get. Thank the Lord for that. I also want to mention that some of the findings for the John Fraser Sheikut, they found some cufflinks recovered. I lost that a second ago. Cufflinks. What else, Tom, did you say? They found some few other articles, and I apologize, I've lost that momentarily, but they didn't find that much on him. Now, after they got him out, it was really toward the end of the day, and he was kind of our main focus to find him and locate him and retrieve him. Then we left for the day, and the next day they had to go back and dig up his wife, Tommy Eugenia Sheikut, and do the same process with her. Tom Heaton was telling me that she actually was buried in a coffin that had like a glass cover, glass front over the head area. They said that it was cracked. I don't know if that was from, I guess, the weight of the soil or whatever, vibrations from the traffic going by the highway, who knows, over time. She was buried there, I think, 1883. And then 10 years later, in 1893, John Fraser Sheikut was buried. So he knew exactly where he had placed her. And he placed her along the reason the highway, he owned this farm or type of ranch down at Sumterville. At that time, Sumterville, for a temporary space, was like the county seat of Sumter. And we think that's why he went there. He opened up a local newspaper, very entrepreneurish, and developed this newspaper into a full county spread. And the good news is, from that newspaper, the Sumter County newspaper that he created and put in place in the 1880s until he died in 1893, is that same county newspaper is still going today. It's still the same paper, just a different name, of course, different owners and all that. But it's amazing. That's his legacy. That's just unbelievable when you think about it. And little did people realize that an actual Confederate soldier happened to come into their life here in Sumterville, Sumter County, and establish and put in place the original county-wide newspaper. That's just remarkable in my eyes. We jumped from the taking the remains out and then placing them in the funeral van. We jumped to the following week, which would have been Tuesday, February the 18th. Now, again, this is a schedule of the contractors in the county. We had nothing to do with it. We had no control over it, or else notices would have been sent out if I'd had to buy carrier pigeons. But anyway, I'm sorry we couldn't do it. We got a late last-minute notice, and we had to jump or miss the boat, so to speak. So Tom and I were there for the actual funeral, Byers Funeral Home in Bushnell, along with the director, who was a very professional young lady, Christina Eldridge. She is the funeral director there at Bushnell Funeral Home. She directed the whole funeral process, everything. The caskets were beautiful. In my opinion, they did not cut any corners. It's just magnificent what a job Christina did, along with directing her people, her staff from the funeral home. It's also wise to mention, before we forget it, that in the exhumation, the county had set this up and required that a forensic scientist be involved. And we had a Miss Stubblefield, who was the forensic scientist of research on the human anatomy from the University of Florida, that came in and stayed all of Thursday and did all the tricks of the trade in exhuming a body, delicately, sensitively, doing it. It looked just like a CSI movie. It's something you'll never see or witness in any ordinary day. That's all I can say. Miss Stubblefield was excellent. She was a professional above professional. She's the one that would identify of course, the bone structures, I guess the quality of the deterioration. She'd also categorically listed all the items found and placed, and all the items from both bodies of John Fraser Sheikut and his wife Tommy Eugenia. They were each placed in the casket. So we're on the reburial of Confederate soldier John Fraser Sheikut. That was Tuesday, February the 18th at 11 a.m. Byers Funeral Home set everything in place, did, 90% of the contacts. Tom and I went, and we were kind of concerned that we hadn't had time to notify anybody. We had not really gotten out word, even though we wanted to. It just hit too fast, too quick, too late, and it left our hands tied. So we pull in down there at the cemetery, and the funeral home has set up an immaculate, if you want to call a reburial immaculate, they did. It was all professionally clean, extra professionally done. Newspapers were there from the Daily Sun, the county newspaper, again, that John Fraser Sheikut put in place in the 1880s. Their representatives were there with a lot of good photos. They asked a lot of questions to us. We had some good, excellent dialogue, Tom and myself. And I'd also like to mention that Chip Schultz, who is with Bob Highball's camp, 1865, he came in both days, the exhumation on the 13th of February, and then again the following week on the 18th for the reburial. Chip was there, and this guy, he had to drive a pretty good distance just to get back and forth. So he was there representing 1865. I would have loved to have everybody there. It would have been a thrill in my life. But we had one of the best Baptist speakers to do a talk for the presentation or the honorary significance of the value of a Confederate soldier and the history that was there for us just to be a witness and hands-on caliber. It just blew your mind. We also, and this was Tom's idea at the end, we placed a First National flag over his casket during the service, which I felt honor bound, and it was a proper and appropriate thing to do. And at the end of the service, when really everything was over and, people had sort of started leaving, Tom asked or suggested about putting the flag inside with this Confederate soldier, John Fraser Sheikut. And I was, I didn't know what to say. I thought, well, that's a great idea. I'd love to do it, but I didn't know if that was allowed. I didn't want to offend, his family or God knows who. But Tom asked the Miss Eldridge, the director for Byers Funeral Home. She said, no problem. So she opens the casket, and not only do they place it inside, but they draped it out over his remains.
Wow, that's cool.
And then here we are facing for the last time till eternity this gentleman, lying there in state of honor, and here's our nation's flag covering him. Thank you, Tom Heaton. I don't know if I'd have thought of it. No telling. My mind was clicking like I don't know what. Just for being there, just for being a part of it, and doing something in my life that, to me, only comes around once. And all I can do is thank the Lord. I think He placed us there. I think He guided us through this thing. Now, remember, this thing started back June, July of 24, and we've been dogging it for months on end, trying to get answers, trying to get a schedule, trying to make a plan. And every time, at every turn, we were shot down, meaningless by the contractor, the work, the construction. I would have never thought it would have turned out as elegant and as beautiful a reburial as could be. We marched in with a color guard. I just cannot believe it. Tom Heaton, and we had a couple of reenactors. We had a lady in mourning. Todd Olson and his wife came in. Tom Olson, he's the top hatter. But he came in full uniform. And we had some, so we had a little offside with somebody wanting to march in, play a drum bit. So he worried us to death, and we did it. We had to kind of keep him quiet, but it was all an elegant ceremony, and it was solemn. It was appropriate. And come to find out, on a final little note here, I just found this out today. I don't know if you can see this, but these two names here, Sandra Maroney and Janice Mann. I don't know if you can see that.
Somewhat.
Yeah. But these two ladies, one, I'm thinking it's Sandra. She is 75 years old. They live in Daytona Beach. And as it turns out, they are the great grandkids of John Fraser Sheikut and his wife, Tommy. Wow. And we found out by quaint incident today. We didn't even know it at the exhumation. We didn't know it at the funeral, as far as we were told, and the funeral home. They did their checking and research, could not find relatives. We thought they still may be in Georgia, where they first settled or first lived, but not in Florida. And it turns out these two ladies here are the original modern 2025 bloodline relatives of this Confederate soldier. And when they were called and told about the whole ceremony and the whole setup, they said they almost fainted. Their hearts fluttered, and they said it was the best surprise they could ever have heard for the Sons of Confederate Veterans, for the United Daughters of the Confederacy, Granville Bevel, 2234 with Joyce White, for all of us to come together. Just heart in hand and celebrate and honor our Confederate heritage and our Southern soldier.
And for him to have her forever home.
I'm telling you, these are memories that you only get a chance at once in life. We got a chance with General Nathan Bedford Forrest. That was a highlight of my life. And I thank the Lord every day for it, for being there and being that close and being connected to the general and his wife, Mary Ann, at Tennessee. Here we are, 4 years later, practically, and a real Confederate soldier buried right practically in our backyard, right on Highway 301, right below Wildwood, just a handful of miles. And I don't know, the people around the area knew of him and knew about. But we talked to one gentleman when we were out there with the exhuming the bodies. And he told us, he was like we were, just ordinary people, stopping there with interest. He said he went by that grave there on Highway 470, right before you get to 301. He said he went by it, I don't know how many times a week, a month, for years and years and years. And he said every time he went by and glanced at it, he knew it was a grave of a Confederate soldier because he lived down there. He said every time he went by, somebody had planted a Confederate flag beside of the headstone. Cool. I mean, that's amazing. And I was thrilled to death with Granville Bevel. They put a lot of energy into this reburial. And as far as I'm concerned, and we've talked this over kind of, amongst ourselves, our Camp 1786 is proud and honored to be at least allowed to be the host of this venue. And I'll leave you with this one thing. Because of the time constrictions put on us and no revealing of any update or calendar, and I don't know why that happened, and I don't know what I'd ever have to do to find out. But anyway, it left us kind of like we were, we reached the peak of the mountain, but we wanted to get one step on the top of the mountain. And it left us in such a way that now it's planned and locked in that on April the 12th, coming up our Confederate History Month in Florida, April the 12th, we're going to have a full-fledged enhancement due to Confederate Memorial Month, April, and have like a celebration of life, a reburial at Sumterville Cemetery, April the 12th at 11 a.m. We've already got soldiers lined up. Good. We need more for color guard soldiers to come in and fire a few volleys. The UDC Granville Bevel with Joyce White has already got speakers lined up and a brochure printed for this. So, and that's on the handout and the mail out as we speak. So for all the listeners out there, you want to attend a real Confederate soldier that's here locally, please mark your calendars for April the 12th. Give me a call for any questions, or, if I didn't clearly put something. It's at Highway 471 and 301. They intersect. 301's making a slight curve. 471 comes in from the south. And the Sumterville Cemetery is right there. You cannot miss it.
Cool.
So that's the episode of John Fraser Sheikut. And here's a picture. If you can.
Let me get that up for you, Jerry.
Yes, sir. Good deal. I still, Sean, I'm sorry. I still don't have a video. So any questions that come in, I'll be glad to answer the best of my ability. We tried to cover all the bases for what little or no information we got. I'm just thrilled about the whole episode. Remember, this started last June and into early July when the lady drove by the house, saw the flag, and said, hey, this Southern soldier's got to be with this person. This person, thank the Lord, was me. And I'm so honored and so much gratitude and humble. It just gives me cold chills. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. And thank you, Tom, for coming in and being a partner with me and going through this whole episode. It was something we'll never forget.
Cool. Well, I know you're involved with another event coming up on March the 15th at Linden Cemetery.
Yes, I've got a little list here. In the meantime, if you would like for me to reveal this list, and
it's already up on the screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, it's a list for everybody. Sometimes we can't make every event. Sometimes we can do just so few or so many, but we don't have time probably to do them all like we want to. So if we'll begin real quick. March the 1st. I don't know if you're showing that now, Sean.
Yeah,
believe.
I'm showing your list.
Yeah. Okay. March the 1st is Ocala at the Governmental Plaza, which is on Northeast 25th Avenue. You can't miss it. It's 50 acres or nothing of open land and county buildings. And they're having their Habitat for Humanity Strawberry Festival. Excuse me. And Camp 1865 is doing part of the host of that. They're having a recruitment booth. So if you can go to March the 1st, right there in Ocala, Northeast 25th Avenue, and it's the Habitat for Humanity Strawberry Festival. Starts from 9, it goes to about, I think, 5 p.m. If you have any questions, contact Camp 1865 or Bob Highball. Second thing, may I continue, Sean, or do you want
to? Fire away. As soon as you get done with that list, I'll be talking about other camp stuff.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Yep.
All of our ladies and gentlemen, friends out there, camp members, friends of the camp, March the 2nd, Camp 1865 is again doing headstones. And I believe, not to jump back a pinch, but I believe, Jeffro, weren't y'all doing some headstones on March the 1st or something? You might send something in on that. I'm sorry, I don't have all that information. You and David King, I believe, y'all.
I have not heard anything official from David yet.
Okay. Well, don't take my word on March the 1st for that. But I thought that was a temporary idea that might happen. But, you can't ever lock things in. You know how that is. But anyway, going from to March 2nd with the in Citrus County, right outside of Citrus, right there on 301, Camp 1865 is setting 2 more headstones, and that'll be they're having to do it Sunday, March the 2nd, because March the 1st, the camp's going to be taking in or doing the Ocala Strawberry Festival, and they're going to be tied up all Saturday with that, so they've got to do this on Sunday and set the headstones. That's March the 2nd. If you have any questions about either one, call Camp 1865 Bob Highball. He's the man in charge, and thank God. And like you mentioned, March the 15th is Linden Cemetery. Linden Cemetery is an old cemetery down on Highway 50, right off of right beyond 471 intersect. Again, this is a UDC mainline activity. Granville Bevel, chapter 2234 with Joyce White, excuse me, they have, or if by now they're placing a Confederate monument. I don't know, it's like 4 feet tall, it's rectangular, and it's got all the names on it. And this monument is a real masterpiece. It's beautiful. At Linden Cemetery at 11 a.m., right there at Highway 50, right beyond Highway 471. You can't miss it. They've installed this Confederate monument. If you got any questions, you can call the UDC chapter 2234, Granville Bevel, or Joyce White. And afterwards, they're going to have refreshments and eats and drinks. So if it's a hot day, we'll need them.
Yeah.
The next big thing coming up that I have now, I know this is covering a lot of Central Florida folks, and I'm not trying to ignore the rest of the state. Forgive me, but these are things that a lot of us in this part can attend and should attend, if being this in our backyard, so to speak. Excuse me. April the 5th at Bronson Cemetery, which is called Rosemary Hill Cemetery on Highway 24 in Bronson. You can get to it, Bronson, Florida, towards Dixie County. Clement Lindsay is handling this along with the lovely Annette Lindsay, in charge of the OCR, and they're handling this cemetery ceremony. It will be a OCR type venue. And of course, Clement Lindsay is handling more kind of the soldier part, the men part. And that's April the 5th at 11 a.m. Bronson. and it's Rosemary Hill Cemetery right there off of Highway 24. All right, right fast. You ready?
Yep.
April the 12th. I mentioned that along with the John Fraser Shekut reburial. We're going back to Sumterville Cemetery right there at 301 and Highway 471. You can't miss this intersection, and you certainly will drive right into the cemetery. It'll start at 11 a.m. We've got some soldiers lined up, hopefully to do some volleys and a good color guard. The UDC has several speakers, UDC and SCV speakers. So this will be a big to-do on April the 12th with Joyce White and the Granville Bevel. And again, it's all in honor of John Fraser Shekut and his wife, Tommy Eugenia Shekut. The graves are beautiful. They went out today and cleaned the headstones, and I'm hoping we can receive and put in place a Confederate headstone. Donna McPherson is overseeing and trying to get that worked out. Good luck, Donna. We're praying for you. Any way, shape, or form, thank you. We just pray it'll all fall into place. April the 12th, 11 a.m., Sumterville Cemetery. April the 22nd, we're back to the Ocala Veterans Park, downtown Ocala, where the tall Johnny Reb statue is, 30-some feet tall. That'll be April the 22nd. I think it's on a Tuesday. That's when they have their normal meetings, and it'll be start at 6 p.m. If you, of course, get parked and get settled, come in, 5-ish, 5:30, and get parked, get settled. We'll drum in Flag Corps, and I know Bob Highball will have some speakers, and probably one of the best barbecue dinners or something of that magnitude. Have it all the time. That's under the shelter. So that's April the 22nd at Ocala Veterans Park with Bob Highball and Camp 1865 celebrating Confederate History Month. It'll be all around the tall Confederate statue, and then right there adjacent to it, it'll be the covered shelter for our big meal. So if you don't eat supper, just plan for that. The final thing I have that I know you're tired of hearing me, and forgive me, I can't help it. I'm in a little bit, I'm going to get a second breath, but the final thing I have is April the 26th. And again, this is in Pine Level Cemetery with UDC Granville Bevel. They're all over the place doing everything, seems like. Camp 1786 will be there, I'm sure, in full body. April the 26th at Pine Level Community Building, Pine Level Cemetery. Excuse me. It starts at 11 a.m. Joyce has already got lined up speakers. We're going to have a full-fledged honor guard, march in, post the colors. Any of you gentlemen that have the time, please come in. April the 26th will be the last Saturday in April, naturally, and this will be the Pine Level Cemetery with a Confederate memorial service. And the tall monument, again, this is another 4-footer monument with all the names on it and data. That's in place. Granville Bevel put that in place, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago at least. So for me, that's really all I have. Any questions, feel free to call me, text me. I don't care. Everything's good. Sean knows that I act on a moment's notice because he heard the sirens before we started. A little inside joke.
No.
Everything was here but the fire truck, but that's okay. So give me a question, Sean, or if anybody has anything, let me know. I'm here, ready and willing.
Not yet. There's nothing came up. Kim, good to see you. Kim Kellers, Kim Hoffecker, our past commander-in-chief, Jason Boshiers, is in the chat. Victor Smith is in the chat.
Commander?
Wow.
Yes. Very good.
AOT Councilman Roy Hudson's in the chat.
I saw Roy a second ago. Yes, very
Yeah.
good. Yes.
We got a lot of people here. So yeah, just like Jerry was talking about, we have a lot of events coming up, especially this weekend. We have the Battle of Natural Bridge happening in Northeast Florida.
Yes.
I mean, not Northeast, Northwest. Woohoo!
Northwest.
Mine's a little fried. Been a long day. That's this weekend. The Battle of Natural Bridge is taking place. March 1st and the 2nd at Natural Bridge Battlefield Historical State Park, located 7502 Natural Bridge Road, Tallahassee, Florida. What they got scheduled for Saturday, military civilian camps are open to the public, infantry drill and field demonstration, medical demo, historical preservation under the ball tent, ladies' tea, artillery skirmish, ball, all that good stuff happening Saturday. Besides that, April 26th at 10 a.m., I just spoke to the camp commander this past weekend, Tim Pendleton of the Arcadia camp. They're doing their Confederate Memorial Day service April 26th at Fort Ogden Cemetery. You could come in civilian clothes. If you want to really get involved with it, come in wear your dresses. Come and wear your dresses. Reenactors, men and women are welcome. My camp is involved with it because my camp namesake is buried in Fort Ogden. Lieutenant Bogus is buried there. So I got my camp coming up from Naples, Florida to help the Arcadia camp out with that event. Jerry touched up on March the 15th, Saturday.
Yes.
There we go. April the 5th, 2025 at 10 a.m. White Springs Flag Site fundraiser. Lip smacking barbecue dinner by Wachili Smoking Barbecue. Located at White Springs, Florida, just off I-75. You see the big Confederate flag flying. That's where the meetup is. Hosted by the Captain Winston Stevens Camp and the Olusty Camp. They've done this event in the past. It's always a good time. So please go up there and support them. 28th SCVMC Annual, June 19th to the 22nd, 2025 in Traverse, Florida, just south of where Jerry lives.
Yes. Close.
Yeah. Hop, skip, and away, right?
You closer than that.
Now, some of the stuff, the name of the hotel's changed, but the registration form is still good. You can fill this out, mail this in to Ronnie Nichols, Lieutenant Ronnie Nichols of the 3rd Battalion Company D, Mechanized Cavalry. Okay. Of course, we talked about Natural Bridge. That's the bigger one coming up. I did get some news today from Bob Highball. The schedule for the reunion is up on the website. Please go check that out. I just got your message, Jerry, about no video.
That's okay. I didn't. It didn't bother me. I'm good.
But Bob Highball will be coming on in March to give us an update on the division reunion. And I believe our AOT councilman will be coming on in March sometime, as soon as he's
Good.
back from
Good.
from our national GEC meeting to let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
I know Jim Odell sent me something too, so let me go try to find it.
Sean, if I may say,
Yeah,
Bob Highball and Camp 1865 have really worked, behind the scenes, completely diligently on this thing with the reunion. There at the Hilton on 85 and 200 in Ocala. They've been at it hard and heavy. It seems like we're in good standings, with the managers and the operators of the hotel. So I think we owe it to the Camp 1865. I know I've talked about them a lot, but they deserve it. They have really put their heart into this reunion, and it's finally going to come true, and it's paying off.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Bob just messaged me. Get your hotel rooms; they're going fast.
Yep.
So if you're going or thinking about going, reserve your motel room. They're going. I know from talk with them last week, he said the 20 were already gone and they got a few more. So I'll let Bob Highball talk about it in the month of March, kind of give everybody an update on the division reunion. But the scheduling is up on the reunion. He just messaged that to me today. So Jim Odell did message me. Yeah. His camp, the Private George W. Thompson Camp, 1597, are doing their annual Confederate Memorial Day motorcade. Our Okeechobee Confederate Memorial Day motorcade ends at the Pierce Estates, paying homage to John Pierce. Their event's going to be, their event's going to be April 12th to the 13th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., $10 per car. Heritage Festival at the Pierce Homestead in Fort Russell, U.S. Highway 98 and State Road 721. If you want more information on that, you can get a hold of Jim Odell, Nancy Fisk, or Judy Brown. The information is uploaded to the Look Around Facebook page, especially on any event that's coming up. So it's going to be a fun next couple months. It's going to be busy. Springtime. People are itching to get out of their house and doing some good for the cause.
Sean, if we may mention a shout out to Jeffro Cotton and David King and Ronnie Nichols with the Mechanized Cavalry. They've got that set up again. Like you mentioned in Tavares, be sure and get your motel rooms. But they've gone through a lot of behind the scenes work with getting this in place again. And I have to mention, so honorably and favorably, there's Bobby Grenier, the mayor of Tavares. He's our best Yankee Southerner that I've ever met in my life. So
yeah, he watches the show now.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Between Bobby Grenier, David King, Jeffro, and Ronnie Nichols, the whole Mechanized Cavalry is in a world beyond belief right now. Thank God. Amen.
Miss Hudson, thank you. Florida. The Florida reunion union info. Yes, I'm waiting on Annette and Bob Highball to tell me it's up and running. Linda, I know talked with Bob this past weekend. He was working on it with Annette on a website. That's all I know. I don't know if it's finished, up and running yet. But if you're in the Florida OCR, please pay attention to your emails. There was some info they did get sent out today on the national. I mean, not national. All the states that have OCR chapters to get together. I believe that was sent out this past weekend. So if Annette or your chapter president does not have an up-to-date email address for you, please get with your Annette Lindsay or your chapter president so they can make sure you're up to date on everything. Yep. Yeah, I was trying to find the email, Jeffro. Yep. Yeah. You're right, Mr. Boshears. Yankee Bob is amazing.
Amen. Amen.
I'm itching for to get him on the show so we can talk about a little bit more history about Traveras. I did speak with him at Bob Highball's Lee Jackson dinner, and he's very good and knowledgeable about the history in that area.
Sean?
Yeah.
If I may, Bobby Grenier has, I'm not sure the whole setup, but he has a radio broadcast once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And he has guests like you have, except his is a radio venue. And yeah, I mean, he's on all different topics, history and whatever. But just him doing that has really put Tavares on the map out there. I mean, people are tuning in now. It's been out, pretty good while. So it's really built an audience just like you have. And, it's what we need. You cannot imagine, or a lot of people can't really think about this, that depth. But communication is what it is all about. And
yes, sir, it
if
is.
Communication breaks down or falls apart or nobody talks, then everybody loses.
Well, back when I joined the SCV, I was getting these Confederate veterans, and I'm like, okay, why did I know about this event? Why didn't,
Right.
And it just stayed in the back of my mind until our sister show, SCV Chat, came about, and me and Moose got to talking with the Candyman and GCB. Got to talking, and they go, "Why don't you do one in Florida? You guys have a lot of good stuff." I'm like, "Well, that's not a bad idea. Let me run it by my chain of command." Yeah, SCV Chat does focus more on the national stuff, where here we're mainly towards Florida.
Right.
SCV, OCR, and UDC.
Exactly. And the best way to really get things done is through communication, get it out there. The last thing I ever want to hear on any whatever comes into play, somebody coming up and saying, well, if I'd have known about that 2 weeks ago, I could have made it. I could have probably been there. Well, with communications, the way we send them out, and we send them out repeatedly, you don't just get one notice. I'd rather for somebody to be kind of worried that they're getting too many. That way I know at least the word's getting out.
Yeah, because and I love what National is doing with the Telegraph email.
Yes.
Yeah, it keeps us up to date with what's going. Speaking of Bob Grenier,
is he there? Bob.
Yep, he just joined to the YouTube.
Well, amen. Bless him.
Yep. See, we said his name 3 times. He showed up.
Well, see, hey, Sean, that's how powerful you are. Can you believe that? That's pretty tough. Mind readers, yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know. Well, and that's the thing about this show is, just like you're involved with that reinterment of a Confederate soldier in your area, and you were telling me about, like, won't you just come on? Let's talk about it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
newsworthy to me.
Amen. It
How many
is.
people? How many people can say they actually touched a Confederate soldier or were involved from him being dug up and
Yes.
replaced?
Well, and remember, Tom Heaton and myself, this was a thrill of a life. He had been buried almost 132 years.
Yeah.
And would have, who knows, this could have been one of those years ago where they could have easily paved over it and he'd been gone, lost forever. But now, since he's been, reserved and kept and reburied, now the whole world can go to Sumterville Cemetery, see this Confederate soldier grave there where the reburial took place and where we're going to be April the 12th. But this was a real Confederate soldier. I mean, how many times in life do we get this chance that comes our way and the door opens? I mean, thank the Lord is all I can say.
And not only because of that Confederate soldier, it got you a connection with your local DAR.
Amen. Amen. And here again, we've got now vital connections to, I'm saying like Channel 6, direct into the Daily Sun newspaper. And I mean, when I say direct connections, they want us to call them when something comes up that they may not be aware of or have heard of. And that we fill them in, give them details, and all of a sudden they either come or send a representative. So that connection is worth a lot.
Yes, sir.
So,
yeah, because I mean that's down in my area. I know the retired county historian. She took care of the county records. The DAR knows me, and they call me every now and then when there's a dirty headstone because they see what I do out in Alva and Buckingham. So
there you go.
Exactly. It just like Mr. Bo Shears have said, Carl Jones. Yeah, our national leadership has said, get out in your community. Let your community know who you are and what you represent.
Well, thank you for the job you do and for the communication network that you have put in place for our Florida SCV. It's a lifesaver. To me, it's like a heartbeat because we can all connect, we can all communicate, and we all learn. We all learn from it. So that's what it's all about.
And we all know what camps are doing what. So you might be over there by Port St. Lucie and going, hey, I got the day off. I'm over here fishing. Okay, this camp's having a meeting or they're doing something at this cemetery. And you may want to go join them.
Yes. By the way, let me plug Bobby Van Zant's camp in Clearwater. Randy Bailey. I will be over there Thursday. 27th. I'm giving a little program over there. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure we'll share a lot of good information, but just let Bobby Van Zant know if he's looking in, or Randy, one of them from the Clearwater camp. I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. And we always have a good time and learn something. That's the main thing.
Yeah, Bobby usually pops in and says hi. I'm sure I know him and Rick Gray and all those guys in St. Pete. They don't watch it live. They do go back and watch it though.
Right. Well, everything's good. And Sean, you do an excellent job. You do a wonderful job. And what started out, you put all this in place, you put it together, you glued it together, made it work. It's holding up. Everything's great. It's growing, expanding. And like we said, the main thing is it gets the communication out there, and nobody can come around, and say, well, I didn't hear that, or I haven't ever heard that before. So it's worth it. It really is worth it. Amen.
Yep. And with that note, we just hit our time. So
Oh,
any of the episodes that we have on Facebook or YouTube, please share those with your camps.
amen.
That way your members have an idea of what's going on in the state of Florida. Yeah, especially the one with Bob Highball when he was on and talked about the division reunion.
Yes.
Yeah, I shared this episode where Jerry talked about his involvement with the reinterment of a Confederate soldier.
It was a
these
learning.
episodes out.
It was a full learning experience for me, and I know it sounds corny, Sean. I'm sorry, but it was just like a CSI, except we were part of it.
Yep.
I was really amazed. Yes, sir.
Well, our good friend and brother, Mr. Boshier, just gave us a well done. And
amen. Thank you, Commander.
Looking forward to seeing you there, Yankee Bob, on the 15th.
Amen.
Stay Southern, stay out of trouble. May God bless you in your ventures this week. Until next Tuesday, stay Southern. And for being Black History Month, we're wrapping Black History Month up. This ended on our very own Nelson Webbush.
My name is Nelson W. Winbush. I'm a member of the Jacob Sumner Camp 1516 Sons of Confederate Veterans. My reason for joining the Sons of Confederate Veterans after the NAACP declared they would destroy and remove everything Confederate in 1990, I decided that I would do all I could to make sure that people understood what the Confederacy stood for.
And that's Nelson Webbush, Florida Division member. Till next Tuesday, have fun.